What's going on, everybody? Eric Bourassa here, and I know I say this every time, but I'm really, really, really excited to bring you 1,000 Julys by Third Eye Blind today. I'm going to show you how to play it on guitar, give you some video and audio demonstrations, and kind of go step by step through it. This is a top 5 Third Eye Blind song for me. Even though it doesn't come from their first album, which is my favorite album of all time, the second album, Blue, is a really great album as well. And this is only the second song that I've taught from this album. I'm not going to do the whole album, but let me know if there's other songs from Blue that you would like me to do. This album really takes you on a wild journey. This is my favorite song from the album Blue, I think. Anyway, let's dive right in. We are in open D tuning. So we've got D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. Just gives you a beautiful open D chord. I've marked the tempo at 196 beats per minute. It's really half of that, but I did it at 196 just to be able to write it as eighth notes and quarter notes, just so the rhythms stay super simple. Here's the intro. So we're going to start with an eighth note rest, and then up, down, up, down, up, down, down. All right, that strum pattern is really important. I don't think I actually did it that way in the recording demonstration, but that's the proper way that you want to strum that to get the right feel. So up, down, up, down, up, down, down. The reason we want to do it that way is because it keeps all of our downstrokes on downbeats, upstrokes on upbeats. It helps to make it flow a little bit better. So we're going to do a complete bar at the 12th fret, which is not an easy thing to do. And then we're going to do this a very Rolling Stones inspired thing, like in Start Me Up. Right? It's that kind of an idea. So you're going to put down finger 3 and finger 2 on frets 14 and 13. So I would just practice getting comfortable going back and forth between those shapes. And then we have down, up, down for a mute, and then you're back to starting it again. Actually, that's not true. Down, up, and then we have the pattern starts over after that. Down, up, up. So I would practice that as a separate exercise. Turn each of those into their own exercise, okay? And then the second time, we just have power chords. I'm going to use my first finger for all of those except 10. So 3, 5, 8, 10. Okay, and then after 2 times of that, we get into our next super cool riff. What's crazy to me about this song is that the opening riff is amazing, and then you're like, cool, this is a great rock song already. And then it hits you with a second amazing riff. Crack. All right, so the feel here is everything, and one of the big challenges for me is not to rush. You got to really settle into the groove, take your time, make sure you're not playing ahead of the beat. So we're just gonna, on the 10th fret, do this power chord, down, up, and then a rest. So just release the pressure from your fretting hand and bring the other fingers down to mute. And then 9, 10, 12 for the next chord, the Tom DeLonge chord. And then same idea at 5 and 4. But the last hit, we've got a downstroke mute and then an upstroke 5. So if you're not used to going back and forth from mutes to non-mutes, I would turn that into an exercise. Mute, chord. Just get comfortable doing that. A lot of my guitar students over the years, we've had to spend a lot of time just getting comfortable with muting going into chords. So if you feel like you're having to spend a whole lot of time on it, just know that you're not alone. Like, that's normal. It's pretty tough to get used to doing chords and strum patterns and then throwing in some mutes at the same time. The second time, there's another guitar that comes in with that. So 10, 12, I'm going to do a hammer on, and then I'm going to pick the last two notes. And then throw in some vibrato. We're going to talk more about vibrato later. Kevin Cadigan has a really great vibrato, and when we get into some of the leads later in the song, we're going to talk about how to do that vibrato properly. All right, so that was our verse, and then we go back to the intro again, another verse, and then when we get into the chorus, it's this riff. Pretty straightforward, down, down, up is how I would do that. And then down, up, down, up, down. And then up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then you have this open transition there. Then the second time, the ending. Ten, 12, pull off back to the 10. Hit the 12, slide to 14, 12 at the first finger, open. Okay, and then the third time is the same as the first. Last time, you just build on the 12s. Then we do another verse, another chorus, and then we get into this crazy little lead part, which I've tried to fake with a wah pedal. It's actually not that hard to play, but there's some really cool in-studio effect that they're using, and I don't know what it is. Let me know in the comments below if you know what effect they're using. But Kevin Cadigan just is doing open 3, 5, hammer on string 6, and then open 3, 5, hammer on string 5. And you can use your pinky or your third finger. For me, I prefer my pinky. It's less of a strain on my hand. So again, this, if you're not used to this, to get the feel of it, turn that into an exercise. Just going super slow. Then we get into the guitar solo, and the riff goes like this. Pretty straightforward. Downstroke on the thicker strings, and then downstroke on the higher strings. Or you could do downstroke on the lower strings and then hit all of them. I like going low to high. I think that sounds nice. It's much cooler than, like, that's fine, but I like the way those accents, it gives it a more percussive sound. And again, we have, just like throughout the rest of the song, we've got this muted strum followed immediately by an upstroke power chord. So you're gonna go down with the mute, up on the 3, down on 3 again. And then you're gonna hold it, let it ring, tie over into the next measure, and then just hit some 5s. The rhythm on those 5s is not that important. You know, as long as you hit that first 5 after the downbeat. Then the lead over top of this is really So that is, it's kind of, you can almost think like G minor pentatonic scale, even though that's really not what we're doing here. But we're gonna grab 15 on strings 3 and 2 at the same time with the index finger. And you're gonna pull it down with your wrist, just barely, for a quarter step bend. And then do staccato hits on these 15s on the 4th string, or at least on the first one. So hit it, then kill it. And I do that with my picking hand. And same thing with the 17. And then I'm gonna go again with the staccato hit. So you wanna hit the note, kill it. So 17 on the 2nd string, 15 on the 3rd string, 17, 16 on the 4th string, followed by open on the 4th string, and then back to that open D power chord as kind of like a transition. So if I was playing this by myself as the only guitar player, I'm gonna hit those open power chords to fill the space in between the lead stuff so that it doesn't feel quite so empty. And what a great, like a lot of Kevin's leads, what a great, just simple lead part that really does its job well. Now your vibrato is really important here. Let's talk about that. You're gonna hit that 17 on the 4th string, and then keep your fingers fairly flat. I would use 2 fingers for the vibrato. So I'm using my 3rd finger plus the 2nd finger behind it. Doesn't matter where the finger behind goes, because it doesn't affect the sound in any way. So just jam it right up next to that 3rd finger. And then my index finger is going to lay flat. Notice I'm kind of at an angle like this. And that's going to help me not use my fingers for the vibrato, but use my whole wrist. This is something I work with my online guitar students a lot. Quick plug for unlimitedguitar.com. Check it out if you're interested in taking guitar lessons with me. Make sure you keep your fingers stiff as you pull with the wrist. So you don't, if you video yourself doing vibrato and you do this, you know you're doing it wrong. If you're using these joints, that's bad. This should stay stiff. Use the wrist. That's the proper vibrato. And just take the vibrato slow. Just get comfortable with pulling and then pulling away. All right, I've spent too much time on vibrato, but it's a really, really big deal to get that right, to get Kevin's sound. Then the next time, pretty straightforward with that. And then the next 2 times through the lead are the same as the first 2 times. Only difference is the ending. You're gonna hit 21 on the 1st string 3 times to finish the solo. And then in our last chorus, we have some extra fills. I'm not gonna talk about those. They will be in the tab. You'll see them there. But if you have questions about those, you can email me, eric@unlimitedguitar.com, and I'll be happy to kind of walk you through that. Now let's talk about the outro chorus. So in this section on the You've Saved Oceans, baby, I just love this lead part. This is my favorite part of the song. I love it so much. It's just so good. But you got to get this vibrato like we talked about earlier. For this one, I'm going to use my 2nd finger. And then notice my index finger comes up and over at an angle to mute. And then I'm also doubling with muting the strings in my picking hand. That's another common issue I see with guitar students is they're not muting the strings. And so you get all this extra string noise. Don't neglect spending lots and lots of time on A, your vibrato, and B, here's the letter B, your string muting. Because if you don't have those 2 things, you get all this extra noise creeping in, plus the vibrato doesn't sound good. Like, it's really gonna just help the melody sing clearly. So I've got this. And then notice I'm not changing the angle of my finger. I'm just pushing up with the wrist. And then I'm going to use my third finger for 17 on the second string. And then second finger for 17 on the fourth string. First finger for 16 on the fourth string. And then that gets me back to be able to repeat that there. This is so cool. What I would do here is you want a half step bend on 12 on the first string, and then release it. And then hit 10 on the first string, 12 on the second string, back to 10 on the first string, and then bend 13 on the second string. Again, use 2 fingers for that bend. It's a whole step bend. So you got to bend your 13 until it sounds like 15. Notice I've got my index finger over top, just like with vibrato. So bending is really the same technique as vibrato. But then I'm going to put vibrato on top of that. Just kidding, real quick. I'm going to pick only once. So I pick and bend, release, pull off to 10. Yeah, so that's how that's going to go. And then the final bit, just 5-5-5-4-0, 5-5-5-5-5-4-0. And then that's it. That's the end of the song. So that's 1,000 Julys by Third Eye Blind. Let me know, what's your favorite song from the album Blue? I've done the song Never Let You Go. That's still to this day probably the song I hear on the radio more than any Third Eye Blind song, period. But this is my favorite song from the album. I hope you guys are doing great, and I will see you in the next time.